All right. Number 1 is Fred Kerley. Obviously, he's the world champion. He's run multiple fast times. He's number 1 easily. This is the whole idea of these rankings is kind of like, where is it going to diverge from how the results ended in Worlds? Because at Worlds, it was Kerley, then Bromell, then Bracy. In our first rankings of the 2023, we're not going with the exact same order as Worlds. We're going to put Oblique Seville 3rd and Bracy 4. Why are we doing that? Why are we putting the guy who finished 4th as the 3rd ranked guy going into 2023?
Well, and then you could also say, why is Bromell up in 2? We took what they did outdoors, but also we got to sprinkle in what happened indoors. And there was nobody who had a big enough indoor season to supplant what Fred Kerley did. Correct. And also it helped that Fred Kerley's running. So we know he's healthy. Yeah. He's out in Australia running 200, running 400. The times aren't popping off the page, but he's out there and he's fine. Seville ran that fast 60 outdoors, so I think that's worth something. Bromell lost to Lyles, but then came back and ended up getting the world lead in the 60. Yeah. So I think he's back on track. I'm not going to penalize him much for that loss. Bracy just hasn't run. Yeah. He hasn't run yet. So he has an ability to move up. We're not forgetting about the medal that he got on the track last year. But when things are that close, if you're competing, you're moving up. So I feel good about this group of 4. I mean, the whole top 10, I'm somewhat confident right now. But I also think this is a situation where many of these guys could get gold. Not just medal. Many of these guys could get gold. And Seville, people forget, was 4th last year at Worlds. Yeah. So bumping up to 3rd is not a huge jump.
Jamaicans haven't forgotten.
No, and I haven't forgot because I was the one telling you.
Yeah, I chose Akeem Blake.
Seville.
So beyond the top 3 so it's Kerley, Bromell, Seville's our top 3. Bracy 4. Coleman 5. And then we decide to break some rules. We're like, yes, we get it. U.S. only going to have 4 people on the starting line at Worlds, but they have other guys who are top 10 in the world. Yeah. So we're putting Noah Lyles at 6. Over-under was 5.5 for Noah Lyles. We put him at 6. Feel like a lot of it's still just on the pedigree of his 200. Yes, he hasn't put together recent good hundreds. The 60s weren't
the 60s were good,
but they weren't. Come on, they weren't not good. They weren't. I'm gonna win gold medal at the.
But there's a difference between that and they're being good, and they were still good. Now
they were good for a college kid.
No. He was good. He was good, and he had to scratch out of that U.S. final with injury. Maybe in the final he goes 648, and then we're giving him a little bit bigger bump. You're right. A lot of this is the 200. Yeah. And a lot of this is
deservingly so. 19.
But he's running better in the 60 than he has his entire career. So it would make sense that his 100 would be a little bit better.
So Coleman 5.
Coleman didn't run much this season, 60. But he beat Lyles after the Lyles false start.
Coleman 5, Lyles 6, Omanyala 7, who has run 2 fast times at the World Athletics is not counting.
Yeah. Don't know what's going on there.
Kenya.
But he also ran indoors, some indoor 60s, and they were
he beat
6'5".
Marcel Jacobs. 8, the computers had Simbene. You did not have Simbene.
I didn't.
So we put him in there.
But I think Simbene's a guy who you really can't take him out of the mix. Yeah. Right? He's always going to be a factor.
He's not going to give you fast times, but he's going to find a way to make a final.
Well, and he might give you a fast time, but he's going to go on his schedule. Right? And we didn't see him indoors at all.
And then 9 and 10, Terrence Jones, newcomer from the Bahamas after a good late indoor season. And then Michael Norman. I mean, yeah, sure, he has no 100-meter pedigree of late, but he did run 9.8 in the middle of nowhere in Texas. He said he's focusing on it this year, and he's a world champion. We got to give something to that. So having 3 world champions in Kerley, Lyles, and Norman all in the top 10, it's pretty cool. Also, former world champions in Christian Coleman also in there. So it's,
So Simbene, I misspoke. He has run, but it was some outdoor 60s as well. A 654, 653, and then a 10.18 into a -3 headwind. So I like the inclusion of Simbene. I will also say Akeem Blake.
Yeah, notable omissions, Akeem Blake.
Yes. Makai Williams,
injury.
Tobogo of Botswana has been really good. So
Jacobs.
Marcel Jacobs.
the Olympic champion.
Yeah.
The Olympic champion was the fourth guy we listed on the guys not in the mix.
So what I did,
which is kind of crazy.
When I was breaking this down, you're trying to group them into tiers or saying, okay, well, this person, we can't put this person over that person. So for example, Terrence Jones, he's the NCAA champion. You can't really put another NCAA guy above him right now.
Yeah, like can't put Williams above him.
Right. And Favor Hachette, you can't put him above. But then you're figuring out where all these runners slot in. And when you go with someone like Jacobs, you're thinking, well, look at what his 60-meter times were. That wouldn't allow him to be ahead of some guys. And then you look at what he ran in the 100 last year. Yeah, he won Euros, but didn't compete at Worlds. So I think he is right now outside the top 10. Doesn't mean things can't change. An interesting guy is the guy who beat him at Euros, Samuel Ceccarelli of Italy, who's run in the, he's 6'4" guy now, but his 100, he hasn't been even close to sub 10 yet. So that could be an interesting story to watch. Does he develop into a sub 10 guy? And if so, could he be somewhat of a threat? Is he a make the finals guy? Perhaps. But we haven't seen him put it together indoors yet, but he's still very young.
Kevin, I spelled Terrence Jones' name wrong in the ranking, so I just fixed it.
Okay, good.
I just fixed it. Sorry, Terrence. I apologize. I call him Terrence.
Okay, as long as you fixed it, we're all good.
Yeah. All right. Now, how many guys do we have in the top 10 that were American? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are we going to get called out for American bias by having 6 of our top 10 being Americans?
Sorry, one more thing. Ceccarelli, 647, his 100 PB, win legal, 1045. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he's only 23. Okay. Ask me that question again so I can listen to it.
Are we going to get some negative feedback because we have 6 Americans in our top 10 and you are American and I'm American? 2 Americans made the ranking. Are we biased?
Everybody's biased in a certain way, Gordon. Yeah, you could take Norman off just because he doesn't have a recent, like you said, 100-meter performance. I mean, they went 1 through 3 in Eugene. And then you have Coleman coming back after running a good indoor season. You have Lyles, who had a really good indoor season. So those 5 you can't really argue with. If you're telling me, oh, you'd have Omanyala ahead of Lyles or Simbine ahead of Lyles, I think they're all pretty close. But I think really the only one that you say, all right, should they be on there yet, would be Norman. But everybody else, no, look at the results. Look at the results from Eugene. This isn't complicated.